Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to make the most perfect roast chicken recipe. This is one that I make typically on a Sunday night when I have a little bit more time, although this is really quick and it's really easy. My kids love it, my husband loves it, everybody loves it, it's so good. So the first thing you're going to do is preheat your oven to 425. While your oven's preheating to 425, you're going to take your chicken, and I've already done some of this just to kind of speed up the process for this. But you're gonna get a whole chicken, and I'll show you mine in just a second. I have it behind me. But you're gonna remove the giblets from the inside, and the kind that I get the Simple Truth organic free range chicken. Whatever kind of chicken you get, the giblets I guess, in mine are already in a bag, so you can just like pull them out really easily and throw them away. So pull them out and discard them, and then you're gonna rinse the whole chicken inside and out. Just rinse it off with water and pat it dry. You're gonna take off any feathers that are on there, any excess. Chicken's not that fatty, so there's probably not a whole lot of fat you need to remove. Leave the skin on, of course, but you're really gonna pat it dry. I'm gonna get my chicken in just a second and show you that, but before I do that, because I like to prep all my veggies ahead of time so that I'm not trying to use the cutting board for the chicken and the veggies at the same time, and so that everything's just ready to go. So what I have here, this is Ina Garden's recipe, her perfect roast chicken recipe. I've changed it a little bit, although it is perfect. Nothing needs to be changed. So the recipe calls for, you've got a 5 to 6 pound roast beef chicken. You've got kosher salt. You've got some freshly ground black pepper. You've got a bunch of fresh thyme, one bunch. You can buy it at the store, the fresh thyme. This is carrot or onion on my arm. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Jerry. Can you see me? So you've got your oven's preheating to 425. You've cleaned out the chicken, you've rinsed it off, you've removed the giblets and tossed them. But I'm just going over the ingredients right now. So kosher salt, freshly ground pepper, and I like to pre-chop all my veggies so that when I'm cooking, I'm not chopping and assembling at the same time and using the cutting board for different things. I've got 2 tablespoons of butter, and I put it in a little ramekin because I'm gonna melt this, and I'm gonna use a basting brush to baste the chicken right before I put it in the oven. I've got a whole head of garlic. You're going to use the entire thing. A lemon. I always stock up on lemons at the grocery store. I buy like at least 3 a week because I find that I just use them a lot. And if I don't use them when I'm cooking, I just cut them up and put them in my water. They're good for cleaning too. I don't know. I've got a yellow onion that I've sliced up, and I've already done this just for this. So it's quick. I sliced it up really thick and chunky, like just very rustic, not perfect. It doesn't matter. I really love the onions and the fennel that are in this, so I sometimes will double them up. This recipe calls for 1 yellow onion and 1 fresh fennel bulb. Can you hear me, Jerry? You can hear me. Okay, good. Pop in and ask a question if you need to. So I've got. So fresh fennel bulb, we've been ordering our groceries on Instacart, and they couldn't find it, but I'm thinking maybe they just didn't know what it was because they usually have it at Kroger. So I did go into Whole Foods to get it just to make sure that I could have it for today. And I love I love this in the bottom of the pan so much that I actually double up the fennel, and sometimes I'll even double up the onion too. So one of my fennel bulb, so you trim off the ends. You don't need the ends for this recipe. It smells like licorice kind of. It just gets, I don't love fennel in everything. I don't like licorice, but in this recipe, in the bottom of the pan, it's like the candy at the bottom of the pan. So this is the fennel bulb that I just chunked up in quarters, and throw on my computer. Fennel bulb chunked up in quarters. I'm gonna do this to the second one too, just because I love it. I like take it all in the bottom of the pan, and that's like the onion and the fennel at the bottom is what everybody wants. I've got my trash can behind me. So I'm just throwing away the top and just going to chunk up this part of it. And again, like this is something that I do on Sunday night. Sunday night roast chicken, it's the best. And then you can save the carcass even for soup. And then if you have any chicken left over, that it's delicious for, you know, 2 nights in a row, but you can also do like put it into a chicken pot pie or something like that. Okay, so I've got my fennel bulbs. I made 2. I had 2. The recipe only calls for 1 just because I really like it. Chunked up yellow onion. Oh, the fresh thyme. It also calls for a bunch, like 20, a large bunch of fresh thyme plus 20 sprigs. I forgot to get that at the store. So I have dried thyme. It's not going to be nearly as good, but the thing with dried thyme, and you probably already know this, with any dried herb, you use less of it because the dried herb is stronger than the fresh herb. So if I, you know, I would like guesstimate how much 20 sprigs plus a bunch would be, and I'm going to do less than that of the dried thyme because the dried is stronger. And I wish I had the fresh because you actually remove it at the end, but it'll be fine. This is a recipe you really just can't mess up. And then 4 large carrots that I washed and peeled and cut into just chunks, whatever, you know, and I've got olive oil up here too. So I'm going to get my chicken. It's behind me, and I already, you know, cut open. I use the Simple Truth organic free range chicken, and I put it in a baggie and with a paper towel about 30 minutes ago so I could keep it in the fridge. I used to really be bothered by touching raw meat, especially chicken. I used to be a vegetarian. A while ago, I was a vegetarian, and I often people ask me all the time. They'll say to me that people often think I'm a vegetarian, and one of the reasons that I'm not, one of the couple of reasons that I'm not, is that Simon, my lovely sweet Simon, who's 3, is allergic to so much stuff that I can't imagine cutting another thing out of our diet. He's allergic to dairy and eggs and all nuts and green beans and sesame, and so we eat meat. Okay, so I've got my chicken. I already washed it out. I plucked off any feathers that were still there. I know it's pretty gross. And now I'm just patting it dry with a paper towel, and then I'm going to throw this away. It's on my cutting board. Okay, so I'm going to get a bunch, just that's a technical cooking term, but just a whole bunch of salt and pepper, and I'm going to really liberally season inside the chicken. So we'll do the outside, but right now I'm going to season the inside of the chicken with the salt and pepper. So let me get this, pour some kosher salt in my hand. All right, leg sides are up. I'm just, you know, I don't know what that was. That was probably, I don't know, probably less than a tablespoon. I'm gonna put some of this ground pepper into a bowl I have right here so that I can sprinkle it in, because I don't have more than 2 hands and I can't do this and pick up the chicken at the same time. Being really generous with it. All right, in a bowl I've got right here, and then I'm just gonna sprinkle the inside of the chicken with all that fresh ground pepper. All right, so it's dry. You've got the salt and pepper on the inside, and then you're going to get your thyme, and you've got fresh thyme, and I don't have fresh thyme. So you're going to stuff the whole bunch. So you've got a bunch of fresh thyme that you buy plus 20 sprigs. So maybe just buy 2 bunches of them. I don't know. It doesn't, whatever. It's not like baking where you have to be exact. It doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna, and you're gonna stuff the bunch into the chicken with the salt and pepper that you just did. That looks good. Who cares, right? That's gonna be good. Doesn't matter. And I'm gonna sprinkle this inside. I've never done this with dried thyme before, so I will report back. That's inside the chicken as well. And then what you're gonna do, you're gonna take your lemon. Mine's already washed and everything. I prepped everything ahead of time. You're gonna cut your lemon in half. Let me take the sticker off. Nobody wants to eat that. All right, I'm gonna cut this lemon in half. This is such an easy recipe. Ina Garden, this is hers. And I have made adjustments because I love the fennel and I love the onion, so I add more of those. Usually I just cut it in half, but one of the halves was really big, so I just so I could get it in there. I'm just gonna shove the whole lemon in. I'm not gonna squeeze the juice in. I'm not gonna zest it. I'm not gonna do anything ridiculous. I'm just shoving the entire onion into this poor chicken. All right, so lemon's going in, but you really got to put it down in there because the next thing you're going to do is get your garlic, your whole head of garlic, and you're going to slice it in half crosswise. Don't take the paper off. Don't do anything to it except for this. So, all right, and some of the cloves might come off. Some of the cloves might come off, some of mine did, and the paper might come off. That's okay, it doesn't matter. Slice the whole thing in half, okay? And then some of the cloves came off of that one. I'm gonna put both halves in the chicken, paper and all. You've got lemon, you've got thyme, you've got salt and pepper into your cleaned chicken, and it's just, you know, you're just gonna have to make it go in. Okay, so that's perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go wash my hands real quick. I will be right back. All right. So while I'm washing my hands, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to melt the butter. I'm going to melt it in the microwave. You can do it on the stove if you want to. I'm just going to do it in the microwave. I feel like my kitchen's a mess right now. Hopefully y'all aren't seeing what a mess it is. Okay, butter, 2 tablespoons. You can use more, don't use less. Never use less butter. And I'm gonna put it in the microwave, like, I don't know, 15 seconds. We'll see what happens. Hope for the best. And I'm gonna take all these carrots. Okay, so before I go on, so professional. I have a couple pans going on. Sometimes when I make this, I find that my big roasting pan is overkill because it's easy for some of the onions and the fennel, even the carrots, to get burned. I think I'm probably still going to use this because I doubled up on the fennel and everything, but something else you can do if you have too much room in here, because you want to try to get the chicken sitting on top of the onions, the fennel, and the carrots, so that the juices from the chicken go on to all of that good stuff, and it doesn't burn. You can do this too. If you have a 12-inch cast iron, because this goes in the oven, you can actually do it here. If you feel like this is going to contain it a little bit more and not have too much room. I think I'm going to do mine in my roasting pan today because I'm just looking at all my stuff. Maybe I'll try it in here today. You know, I'm going to try it in here today. I changed my mind because in the past, this is great, but sometimes the onions and everything gets a little burnt because there's just too much room in there. It's a big roasting pan. So I'm going to use my 12-inch cast iron that I have. It's real heavy, goes in the oven. Okay, before I deal with the butter just beeps. I'll check it in a minute. Something else you can do, I don't have any twine and I also don't care. But Ina Garden what she would do is she would tie the legs together so that they didn't burn. I've never had an issue with the legs burning and I've never tied it because I just don't care and I don't have twine. So maybe you'll tie it and maybe you won't. And you tuck the wings under too. I don't know if I can get into all that. Okay, so you're gonna put the onions, carrots, and fennel into your pan. Okay, maybe I'll turn this. Can you see? I'll move this stuff out of the way. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get my onion, my chunked up yellow onion, put it in my pan. The oven's not on right now, it's just a place to put it. And I'm gonna start separating them a little bit. They don't have to be completely separated every layer. You want it to be a little chunky. This is so good. It's the best. Even my kids love, like my 3-year-old, who's a picky eater, loves this. And he won't eat a lot of kinds of chicken. All right, and I'm gonna put my fennel in there. Oops, so I've got my fennel, I've got my onions, just dumping it right in. And the carrots, okay? These carrots this week were a little small, so I added, instead of 4 big carrots, I did 5. Because also the kids really love the stuff at the bottom of the pan. Okay, so all that's in there, and I'm gonna get some time. I'm gonna put some more thyme in here. So this would be the extra 20 sprigs that are in the recipe. That's what's gonna go in here too. I'm just gonna add some dried thyme. You could really, like, you know, whatever seasoning you wanna do. I love rosemary, but sometimes it can be overpowering, or they have that fresh poultry blend that might be good that has sage and rosemary and thyme in it. But the thyme is good because it goes really well with the lemon, because thyme already has sort of a lemony flavor. And I'm gonna get my olive oil, my extra virgin olive oil. I'm gonna drizzle it over these veggies in here before I do anything else. Give them some moisture. I don't know how much I put in there. I just you know, drizzled it in. And salt and pepper. Again, I'm not gonna measure. I'm just gonna do it till it looks good. And I like a lot of fresh ground pepper. I learned this recently. So for my sister's birthday in March, I gave her a cooking class. Oh no, this was for Hanukkah, and we wouldn't have done that since March. For Hanukkah, I gave her a cooking class at Sur La Table, and we went and we did it, and it was so much fun. And something that I learned there, doing my kosher salt. Now I'm being pretty liberal with the veggies. I'm gonna toss the rest. I don't know what I did, probably a couple teaspoons or something. And I'm just gonna toss it with my hands. So it all mixes up, the olive oil, the salt and pepper, the thyme, all the veggies are in different spots. Okay, so my sister and I went to Sur La Table, and something that I learned was that the coarser the ground of fresh pepper, if it's like a thicker grind, not a super fine grind, it has a sweet flavor. But the finer the grind of the pepper, that's when it starts to get spicy. Yeah. So it was because we were making steak or something, and he put the chef who was teaching the class, wash my hands again. The chef who was teaching the class had us put a ton of fresh ground pepper on it, and it was really a coarse grind. And I said, this is a lot of pepper. What's happening here? And he said, well, you know, that's what he told me. So something else you can do with this recipe, you can add any root vegetables you want. So you can add you can add potatoes in there. You can do parsnips. You can do really anything. Since I chose to use my cast iron, I'm not going to add potatoes because there would not be enough room. Okay. But any root vegetables in this would be really delicious. Potatoes and then, you know, whatever else. Okay, so I've got all my veggies in here. You spread them around the bottom of the pan. And before I put my chicken on top, I'm gonna get my butter, my melted butter real quick. And I'm gonna get a pot holder just because the ramekin tends to get hot. And perfect. Okay. So I'm gonna brush the outside of this chicken with butter with my basting brush. I'm gonna do it all over, make sure the butter gets into all the crevices. If you keep kosher, of course, you're using non-dairy butter. That's what I use most of the time because of the dairy allergy that we have at home. I don't even usually have regular dairy butter in my house. If you don't keep kosher and you do use dairy butter with this, the dairy and the butter, the milk solids and the butter are actually what gets your chicken to get really nice and golden brown. So something that I'm noticing right now is that I probably should have done more like 3 tablespoons and not just 2 to spread the butter, but it's working. It'll be fine. No big deal. And I'm just making sure it gets underneath and the crevices and just spreading that butter around all over. Okay. So now I'm going to put this to the side. The butter is done. I'm going to take some more kosher salt, and you can be super liberal with this. And I'm just going to put this all over the outside of the skin. The skin is still on the chicken. It's going to give it a really good crust all over the outside. Yeah, you can be really super liberal with the salt and the pepper. I'm going to get my pepper, fresh ground pepper on the outside. This is really good. Okay, you've already got your oven preheated to 425. Just I think I'll double check, but I think this goes in for an hour and a half. And then you let it rest to let the juices kind of redistribute. This is the best recipe. Thank you, Ina Garden. Okay, done with that. I'm gonna take this, just gonna make sure. And yep, place the chicken right around bottom of the pan, place the chicken on the top. So your chicken, okay, goes on top of your veg. And maybe you have your wings tied together and maybe not, your legs tied together and your wings tucked underneath. I don't know about all that. So you're gonna, roast your chicken for an hour and a half or until the juices run clear when you cut between the leg and the thigh. Right back here, when you cut, if they run pink, it's not done yet. Clear, it's done. So an hour and a half or till they run clear, whichever comes sooner. Let me wash my hands real quick and I'll be right back. Because obviously we're not gonna be on here for an hour and a half for it to be done, but I'll post pictures on the Full Tilt Art Facebook group so you can see the finished product. And we'll see what happens, because I did add a little bit more veggie to this, so we'll see what happens in the cast iron, but I'm confident about it. What you're gonna do when this is done is you're gonna take the chicken and the veggies and you're gonna put it onto a platter, and then you're gonna cover it with foil for about 20 minutes. So when this is done, I will, hang on just a sec, I'm gonna pull this out. I'm gonna take this platter, and I'm gonna put all the veggies and the chicken on this platter, and then I'm gonna cover it with foil for 20 minutes, and that's what's gonna keep it super moist. And the skin's gonna be really crispy. It's really good. So that's about it. I mean, it's super easy, and it's the best chicken recipe ever. So there we go. And then you can use the carcass for soup. When you're done with it, you can, make a chicken pot pie with your leftovers. That's what we like to do a lot of the time. Or you might not have leftovers because it's really
Marcy.
good. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you put it in the oven, what rack do you put it on?
Good question. So let me just put, what rack do you put it on? I don't put it right up to the top. I put it kind of low because this is pretty tall right here. Maybe lower to middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you don't want it to be touching the top either. And you don't want it to burn on the top. Yeah, lower to middle.
Okay.
Do I have it specified right here? I have these little old school recipe cards that I use. Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? It's really good. Let me know if you make it, and let me know how it turns out.
Okay, I can't wait to see your pictures.
Okay, I'll post them later.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
Bye.
Bye.